a panel of stellar women leaders joining us to talk about what it means and takes to be a female entrepreneur in the social sector. I would like to begin by briefly introducing each of our speakers. Kirthi Jayakumar is an activist, artist, entrepreneur, and writer from Chennai. She founded and runs the Gender Security Project, which is aimed at expanding the understanding of gender at the policy, legal, and institutional levels through research, advocacy, and training. She is currently pursuing her second MA in Peace and Conflict Studies as a Commonwealth Scholarship awardee in a blended learning course at Coventry University, UK. Kirthi has also coded an app called Sahas to support survivors of gender-based violence across 196 countries and to assist bystander intervention. Nisha Subramaniam is a sociologist and journalist by qualification and passionate about community-led change, supporting every child to achieve. A 2-year fellowship at Teach for India, followed by a 5-year journey as a program manager and senior program manager at Teach for India, deepened the desire to explore what change can look like in work with children. Her work in education constantly reinforced the role of community, especially that of women, in the development of a child. This led to nurturing the idea of working with education and community in a holistic manner, giving rise to Kanavu. Pooja Srinivasa Raja is the founder of OneLife and the director of Adyar Anand Bhavan Sweets and Snacks India Private Limited, while also currently pursuing an MSc in Management, Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Singapore Institute of Management. She founded OneLife to spread awareness on the importance of mental health and to create a healthy community with mental wellness as the foundation by providing enough support and respect to people in need. Pooja deeply believes in, and I quote, "We all have one life. Let's make the best out of it." Diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis in 2009 and currently wheelchair-bound, Swarnalatha J is a disability rights activist, singer, photographer, motivational speaker, a beauty pageant winner who can speak about 10 languages. Through her Swarga Foundation, she started Sarathi, Tamil Nadu's first transport facility for people with disabilities and senior citizens. Swarga Foundation also made the Police Commissioner's Office, railway station, and 10 government schools in Coimbatore wheelchair-friendly. Sokhya Physiotherapy Center, their flagship project, has provided free physiotherapy services to more than 3,500 patients since its inception only last year. Swarnalatha gives you the confidence of how adversities need not dampen your spirit to pursue your goals. The stellar panel is being moderated by Vijayalakshmi Rao. Vijayalakshmi Rao holds an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad and has over 35 years experience in industry, consulting, and entrepreneurship. She currently provides mentoring and business advisory services to help entrepreneurs scale their business. She has mentored women entrepreneurs for over 5 years at ISB and is currently associated as a mentor with IIT Madras and TII Chennai. Viji is passionate about women's education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. She is an advisor and founder member of a voluntary forum called Empowering Women in IT. She also works for Association for Non-Traditional Employment for Women, an NGO that trains underprivileged girls and helps them find employment in the formal sector. Thank you, panelists, for joining us this morning. Vijayalakshmi, over to you.
Thank you, Vedika. Thank you so much for the introduction and welcome to all my panelists. I think I'd like to begin by thanking Vedika and Yash for organizing this panel. I have a great set of panelists with me. I must compliment you for the choice. All of them come from different backgrounds. They are pursuing different social causes and have different stories to tell. But you know what is fascinating is that each one of them, if you look at the genesis of why they actually started off on that social cause or the motivation behind pursuing what they are doing, it is linked to gender. So I'd like to begin by asking each one of them to talk a little bit about what motivated them to start their journey. I'd like to start with Pooja. you are well-placed, you're highly educated, you're a director in a commercial enterprise, but still you have taken up a social cause which is so close to your heart, and that too in an area which is so esoteric, like mental health. What motivated you? Does this have anything to do with being a woman, Pooja?
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for having me as a part of this panel, and it's truly inspiring. I mean, I've been following all your journeys, so it's been amazing. To answer your question, ma'am, I think so we say that we are from, like, we are well educated and we have so many things around us, but honestly, until I got into depression and I went through suicidal thoughts, I was pretty much messed up at a point where I had no idea and I didn't know if my existence actually mattered. And I was so clueless. I was so helpless. I come from a joint family. I'm pretty much blessed with everything around me, but there was still a huge void, in my life where I felt that my existence didn't make any sense. So it took a lot of time for me to actually understand what I was going through. And then I made an effort to talk about this to my mother first. And she was the one who introduced me to this concept of therapy. And the moment she told me, like, okay, you're going through something and I need your professional help, I was like completely against it. Because I assumed therapy is for only people with extreme mental illnesses and it's not for a common person. And by my mother saying that I need therapy, I felt like probably something is actually wrong with me. And it actually made the fear or feeling for me even worse. But again, I had no other choice. I wanted to give it a try. And then the whole perspective changed for me. And that's when I was introduced to this whole ideology of mental health and mental well-being, and how important it is to get a professional support to get out of the feelings that you're going through internally. And I started having conversations about this to people around me, and that's when I understood there's a lot of stigma attached to it. Because again, people assume if you're from a very good family, everything is perfect for you. And we don't even have an opportunity for people to actually ask if we are doing okay or not, because they assume that everything is fine. And they link wealth and, for example, wealth or fame and all that to good health. But that's not the case. I personally feel mental health is for everyone. Mental well-being is, everyone has their own battles. So that is something that people don't understand. And that's something I wanted to, put out in the open, saying that, see, you think I have everything in life, but that's not the case. Even I've been through this. And over the process, I understood a lot of people feeling the same way, irrespective of whatever background they are from. So that's the main reason I thought, let me just start doing something about it. And I didn't do much research about if there are any NGOs around related to mental health. I wanted to just fill in the space because I didn't get help or right information at the right time. So that's how I started OneLife. So I think my daughter's first birthday last year, I just decided I needed to do something. I just started this NGO within a week, and then my journey has started. So we're just turning one next month. So it's been an amazing journey for me personally. There's been a lot of self-growth for me. And I also feel stepping into the social sector has made me a better empathetic person. So yeah, this is a short, information of why I started OneLife.
No, really appreciate all that you're saying, Pooja, and that you're able to speak about it so openly itself is truly amazing. I'd like to come to you, Nisha, next. You're an experienced professional. You have a rich background in Teach for India, several years of experience, done stellar work there, and then you chose to continue with the social sector. And you were telling me that, again, it has something to do with gender. Is it gender bias? What is it? Why is it that women seem to make a natural fit for the social sector?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Such an inspiring team of women, and I'm very humbled to be the voice of Sura through Kural 2020. I think I've had a really strong positive influence of gender, grown up in a house of very strong women, and I've seen the kind of decisions, whether it's my grandmother, there's my mother, my aunts, the kind of decisions they've made has supported all of us, like myself, my brother, my cousins, and that very positive experience of gender. And as I grew up and when I saw how the societal view of gender, it's very bothersome. It's very difficult to see how if you're a woman so many things are so much harder across class and caste and all of those differences. I think being a woman almost becomes a compounded vulnerability. It makes other things far more harder for you. And I think that's been sort of one question that's constantly been on my mind. And I've always felt like women are just naturally strong. They're naturally resourceful. The way they manage home resources, particularly women in underprivileged communities, are quite enterprising by the nature of how they run their home and how they run their lives. And this constantly feels like untapped potential. Say like one mother, one aunt, one grandmother can make so much of a difference to what happens to the women. A lot of research goes into saying if your mother is a working person, then the daughter's chances of doing well in life is far higher. And just all of these things is constantly swimming in my head. And I think for me, working with women is, there was no choice about it. I think it feels like if we want to make any change, then women are already making a change. Can we like provide them a certain path? And we see that's very true with the Sura women. Some of the problem solving they do, some of the decisions they make feel so simple and natural for them. They may not have the words for it because they've not been educated in a certain way to talk about it in a certain fashion, but we really see what happens when women take charge. And I think our work at Sura, and personally for me, I think the strong women I am with inspires me to think that every woman is actually this, and can we channelize this to make the kind of change we all dream of.
What you're saying is so relevant, Nisha. In fact, even recently, after the COVID crisis, there's been so much research on sisterhood, and the benefits of women helping each other. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I'd like to next go on to Kirthi. Kirthi, I'd like to frame this question for you a little differently. I mean, we have known each other for so many years. I know the kind of projects you've worked on, from protecting women from gender violence to gender equality now, and then now a full-fledged gender security project. What is it about gender? I know there are a lot of us out here, in the audience as well, who are passionate about women empowerment. So am I. So why gender?
First of all, I'd like to start by thanking you for giving me questions that make me think all the time. And of course, to the team behind Kural and the amazing women I'm sharing this space with. It's brilliant to listen to all of you. So coming back to your question, why gender? Personally for me is because I wanted to start where the shoe pinches. Gender has been a basis on which I have faced violence, has been a basis on which I have been excluded, discriminated against, and constantly face a lot of brick walls and glass ceilings in life. And this is happening almost on a daily basis, now, regardless of the spaces I navigate. So if something like this is up against anything I'm set out to do, regardless of whether it's using my law degree to actually practice or setting out to do this work, I think we need to deal with that problem to start with. Now, society has a way of keeping women within boxes, and patriarchy has a very, very huge role to play. It has a very clever way of saying, oh, you're a woman, so you should stay in the kitchen, or you should do roles that befit women, because as women, you're inherently capable of nurture. Now, I think while some women are capable of nurture, some women are human and not capable of nurture too, because it's a human tendency to be or not to be as well. So by foisting these labels on women and by essentializing gender, which is effectively a very fluid spectrum, we are constantly keeping a culture alive where we target certain groups and don't allow them to exercise their full potential, as if we have any business allowing or not allowing someone to do that. When we're all fundamentally human and have no business to govern another person's life beyond our own, there are still those in positions of privilege. And by privilege, I acknowledge every kind, whether that's caste, class, gender, access, and ability or disability. So I think that was what I wanted to respond to when I set out to work with gender, both in my previous capacity with a complete nonprofit, to now where I'm still figuring out whether I want to be for-profit, social enterprise, or nonprofit again.
Welcome, Kirthi, to the profit world as well. I mean, I've been associated
possibly.
with empowering women in IT for so many years, and we are continuing to battle these kind of issues even today. I mean, there's still such a small percentage of women. From there, I'd like to go to Swarna. I'm coming to you last, my dear, but then you're so special. Your story is really one of grit and perseverance. And I remember when I spoke with her, she said, women, small percentage? No, I'm doubly disadvantaged. We are like, even much smaller. So Swarna, tell me, what made you start Swarga? And I think you did face a lot of gender issues as well. So a little bit if you can touch upon that as well.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for making me part of Kural 2020. And I'm really delighted to be amongst such beautiful and strong women. And my journey starts with my birth. I am the second of four daughters. So gender bias started during my birth. My parents were expecting a boy, but unfortunately it was a girl. So I grew up with a lack of money, lack of love, lack of support, and lack of education as well. And when I was in my final year diploma, I was sexually abused by my father's brother, and later on, I was house arrested, thinking that I am the culprit instead of treating me as a victim. So then on, I had to quit my college. Be at home for more than a year. Literally fell on my feet, fell on my parents' feet to rejoin college. And after I joined college, I met with a road accident where I fractured my jaw and my legs. So multiple surgeries, made me not able to walk and talk. So it took almost 1.5 years for me to resume my normal life. But then I did manage to complete my final year diploma. And soon after that, my father committed suicide. So um, we didn't have a financial support. So I had to take up a job at the age of 18, my first job, since I had two more sisters to support. So coming to gender bias, like I said, my parents never thought girls could do something worthwhile in life. So I was brought up in that environment, and even after marriage, my in-laws thought I was not good enough at all. Ours was a love marriage, so I was disowned by my family, and not accepted even in my in-laws' place. So there was always an inner conflict that I'm not good enough. I had lost my self-worth. I think I had given up on my self-respect also. Like I would try to please everybody, but then change happened when I gave birth to a son in 2007, and when he was 2 years old, in 2009, I was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. The first attack I had, I got a fever and I was neck down paralyzed. From my vision to speech, bowel, bladder, walking, hands, everything got affected. So I was in complete depression, not knowing whether this uh, phase is going to be temporary or permanent, or if it's permanent, then how am I going to manage my son, manage my family, manage my rest of the life? Because I've been financially independent from the age of 14, taking tuitions and all that. So how am I going to lead the rest of my life? And I've also worked for corporates like Mitsubishi, ITC, AXA. My last assignment was with Audi. When I was diagnosed, I was also forcibly um, made to resign from the job because they thought I was not fit enough for the job. So too many things in my mind, and it was totally a question mark. I had tried committing suicide when my immediately after my father's death. So this time, and I was saved. So this time I didn't want to take a chance, because if I don't, if I'm not successful in committing suicide this time, then I'll be in a much worse than I was then presently. Then I thought my son and my husband didn't have a role to play in my disease. So I thought, why to punish them? Let's give life another chance. And my husband was very, very supportive. So then on, I went to become a motivational speaker, a singer, a writer, a photographer, and a beauty pageant winner, and managing trustee of Swarga Foundation, a charitable trust founded in 2014 to support those affected with neuromuscular disorders. So I'm currently on wheelchair, figuring out what next in terms of my physical condition, because it's a deteriorating condition and it needs a lot of mental strength and family support, societal support to do what I'm doing today. So this is my journey. We also started Tamil Nadu's first transport facility for people with disabilities and senior citizens. We also started Saukhya Physiotherapy and Wellness Center, where we've treated more than 3,500 patients from last 1 year, where we treat everybody for free. So we have made Police Commissioner's Office, 10 government schools in Coimbatore, and a railway station in Coimbatore wheelchair friendly by providing wheelchair friendly toilets and ramps everywhere. So this is the small work that we do apart from counseling the patients and their family members. So with regards to gender, I have faced gender discrimination before the disease and disability, but after disease and disability, I think people have been more accepting of me. And I think the positive intent shows in my appearance, in my behavior. So I think like Paulo Coelho says in his book Alchemist, that if you really want to achieve something, the whole universe will conspire to help you achieve it, right? So I think that applies to me.
You know, Swarna, I think the whole universe has conspired to ensure that you succeed. Honestly, I mean, your story is amazing, and the way you have changed adversities into opportunities and taken, you know, Swarga forward is truly amazing. All our kudos to you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I will come back to you, Swarna.
Thank you.
Pooja, I'd like to ask you, I mean, I was looking at your website, talking to you about, you know, OneLife NGO. Your organization is so young, you're such a young woman, and you have already made so much of an impact. And there are people like Swarna who continue to, you know, need your help. So there's a big market for you out there. And you're doing great. What do you think as a woman leader, what has been your singular achievement? And what is your success mantra for this?
So I feel like generally women are more empathetic, and I mean the power of being vulnerable is higher in women than in men. We outside we think women are weak, or you know they're worried about so many other factors, but I don't think that's the case as far as the people I've met. They're like super strong, and so many people have been vulnerable, has inspired me to do so. And I think my strongest weapon that I use to motivate people to open up is to talk about my story. I have a lot of things that what Swarna shared, I have a lot of things that I can resonate with her. Most of her life experiences is similar to me. Just like she said, I have I'm in a joint family, and I have like 2 sisters and 1 brother, and it's the same case. My parents expected a boy, and I'm the first child, turned out to be a girl, and then they kept trying. And there was a point when I grew up and I asked my dad, like, what's the big difference? Like, you know, what difference do you see in a boy and a girl? Like, you know, so he said, no, I think it's because of the safety, you know, you cannot literally do whatever a man can do because of the safety reasons. So I asked him, then whose fault is it? Do you think it's the fault of a girl, or is it the fault of the man outside? And then he like, yeah, I get it, you know? So, I think it's very, very important for us to be strong-headed and, you know, just follow our heart, because I didn't discuss about starting this work that I wanted to do to anyone around me, because I know that there's definitely going to be a no. Again, for the reasons that you mentioned, saying that, you know, age, you're very young and it's too much of a responsibility. And even after I started, I face it till date. You know, they still keep saying, I don't think that this is for you, but this is working for me. And I know it's working for me. I'm so happy that I'm able to create a little impact for the people around me. And you won't believe that even the work that we do, most of the people who are benefited out of this are women. Though it's open for both genders, women come forward to get help. Women feel, you know, more open to talk about, you know, so many things. I think it's not that women are weak. They think we are, but we are not. We are just fighting. And especially this generation, I think we are making an effort to push forward. So women have never been weak, but this generation is taking that effort to push forward and break those barriers.
Yes, yes. Yeah. I think very well said, Pooja. I think the whole narrative is actually changing, and it is for us. You know, I have 4 stellar examples on this panel today. I think, you know, it's up to us to make those changes. You know, we talk about lean in the corporate sector, and I think in the social sector, there are a lot more opportunities for us women who are so passionate about making an impact to go there and actually do it, right? I mean, you are a young leader yourself at this age, and a role model of sorts, right? So there is so much that we ourselves can do. It's up to us, really. Nisha, I'd like to come to you next. I mean, you operate out of a place like Cuddalore, right? I know there are challenges, and it's for us women to look at the other side and say, yes, how can I convert this challenge into an opportunity? And, so what has been your experience? I know things could be slightly different there compared to what it is in a place like Chennai, but I'd also like you to talk a little more on the positive side in terms of what kind of opportunities got thrown up, which you were able to take advantage of.
Sure. So just quickly, I think we work with 10 women in rural Cuddalore. So they come from a very small village, which is not, you wouldn't find it on Google Maps. And it's an aspiration for us to say, like, people should find us on a Google Map someday. So it's a very small village set up where these 10 women came forward and they said they wanted to be financially independent. They wanted to be supporting their children's education. So that's how we started working, and they stitch lifestyle products and we sell them through social media and our own contacts. And today we've grown to be selling it to people who don't know us, but they buy it for other products. So that's a little bit of what we do. And I think it's a great question, because I think every challenge has come with an opportunity. And I think when my husband and I moved in here 3 years ago, I'm a sociologist and I've read a lot about rural India, but it's a different game to move. And both of us are city born and we've grown up in a city. And when we move in here and when we experience the challenges and opportunities day in and day out, it's so overwhelming, equally both positively and negatively. I think one of the biggest opportunities we have is over 90% of women here are not employed and they want to be employed. So they understand the value of an opportunity far more than what even an underprivileged community in a city has. I've worked with underprivileged communities for 7 years in Chennai and Bombay. And I see that people here understand that a sewing class is not an everyday thing for them. And hence there's a lot more sort of grit to make it work. And that's a challenge as well, to say that the opportunity is so limited and only some women are able to access it. And similarly, I think just thinking about how many stakeholders play a role for a woman to be able to come out and do something. You see that connection very closely here. Like, a woman can be coming to our sewing classes, everything will go well. But suddenly one day, if the mother-in-law decides that it's a problem, and that's because 3 houses away, some distant relative of theirs said, oh, what kind of a man are you that you're eating off your wife's salary? And here it's an interesting thing that I think in a city, we know how to talk about these things in a very nice and a sophisticated way. Because I do know men who are my counterparts or my peers, middle class, upper middle class, who don't want to eat off their wife's salary, right? But I think in rural India, it's great because people are so honest with you. Unlike in a conversation where everything is very rosy and fancy and diplomatic and you're never able to get to the core of the challenge. I think a great thing about working in rural India is everybody feels entitled to their opinion. So at least the man is very honest with you. He's very honest to say, I don't respect you. I don't respect my wife. I think you're spoiling my wife. I don't want her to be doing this. So I think while it's a challenge, but I think it's amazing that people are very honest about their challenge. Unlike a city, I don't think people are going round and round about these things, right? And I really think one of the biggest challenge, and I think that's also an opportunity, is the mental model of the woman herself. I think just the number of times our women have been told they can't make decisions, just the number of times they've been told, you have to listen to me. And that's very beautifully when one of the women said, at any point of time, there have been times earlier also when I've had 3,000 rupees and I made decision about how to spend it. But it's so different when the 3,000 rupees is mine. When I know it's mine and I can do whatever I want with it. And this is a woman whose husband gives her the 3,000 rupees every month. But for her to be experiencing that changes something in it for her.
Independence,
and their independence. And then to say that now I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do something with my mother-in-law. I'm going to make an alternative arrangement. And the challenges are real, right? Unlike a city, there's no creche to take care of children. So particularly in this pandemic, when children are at home, it's a huge challenge for women in rural India to be coming out and working, because who's going to take care of the children?
No, I completely relate to all that you're saying, Nisha, because I'm associated with an NGO myself, ANEW, and then the underprivileged girls, the kind of enthusiasm that they show to take up the job, because it is a power of being empowered, right? And then, and that financial inclusion actually helps them to just take off. I mean, this is absolutely great, and I think this shows that there are a lot more opportunities, to work in the social sector, in the tier 2, tier 3, right?
for sure.
Kirthi, I'd like to come back to you in terms of, this whole leadership issue. I know we discussed the glass ceiling and you talked about, what did you say? It was a brick wall, right? But, let's assume that, that is kind of falling apart brick by brick, and it's up to us to do that. What have you done? What are you trying to achieve through the Gender Diversity Project, and especially for women leaders in the social sector?
Sure. So,
People like Nisha and Pooja, they look up to you.
That's very kind of you to say. I look up to both of them and to Swarna and you, of course. But no, very honestly, I feel that when women are in positions of leadership, there's no longer a glass ceiling because they are in a position of leadership, but there is a brick wall, a lateral brick wall that men build up. So if you're out there trying to network in the boys club, you're out there trying to get funding for a project with the boys club, you're out there just trying to be a CEO, for heaven's sake, with the boys club, you are automatically sidelined. You see the tag woman CEO that's attached to your name, right? And that we need to retire. I am a CEO, and that has nothing to do with the fact that my gender decides it or my sex identity decides it. And because of that, you can't keep me out of the door, right? Like, I'm doing my hard work, I'm bringing my skills, I'm leading a team, for heaven's sake, and I have results to show you. So why keep me out? So the first thing I strive to do is to build, quite like the idea of how it takes a village to raise a child, we need an ecosystem to dismantle the brick wall. It's not just on women, because it has to come from the other side as well. When somebody's building the wall on the other side, I can take down as many bricks here, still find a wall there. So I think we need to have a very systemic upheaval. We need to rework the way our systems are structured, because I personally believe that the model of leadership as we have it and concept of productivity is self-serving for men. And that model does not work. I see women doing fabulous things, right from Jacinda Ardern to all the women in this conversation. And they're doing this on their own trajectories. And I remember Pooja saying that she didn't tell anyone when she was going to set up what she was doing. And I remember Nisha saying that she's in this section with 10 women who own it, who completely own it. And I listened to Swarna saying that life gave her challenge after challenge after challenge, and she fought and took it through. And these are not formulaic. These are not the men's textbook idea of Six Sigma coaching. It's not. It's intuitive, it's led by lived experience, and it's led by empathy. And I think we need to move towards that model regardless of your gender in leadership.
Yeah, great, Kirthi. Absolutely well answered. Swarna, I think you have, there's something about you in terms of converting adversities into opportunities, right? And now you're trying to convey this whole message of hope through Swarga. What is your long-term vision? I mean, you're such a multifaceted personality. You've already achieved so much. Where do you see yourself going? Swarna, you need to unmute yourself. Swarna, you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think I disagree with you saying that I have achieved a lot. I need to do a lot more. See, 10 years back, I was diagnosed with this disease, and there was nothing available for multiple sclerosis in terms of counseling or awareness or anything. And a situation is almost the same even after 10 years. So like for cancer, tuberculosis, you have specialty hospitals all over India, across the world. But for a disease like multiple sclerosis, where at least 10 lakh people in India roughly are affected, that too mostly women, there is not one single hospital which tries to rehabilitate persons with disabilities who are affected with multiple sclerosis. So I think that is my purpose of life, to set up a comprehensive rehabilitation center for those affected with multiple sclerosis. Why I have been chosen is, like I was telling you the other day, there are hardly, if you say 15% of the population is affected with some kind of disability, not even 1% is educated. Of the 15%, not even 1% is educated. So of that, you can understand the minuscule percentage of women in it, right? So I feel the onus is on people like me who are educated, who have work experience, who have seen so much, who are talented. So we are at a place of privilege. So it should not be going waste. So what's the point of all this education experience if we don't do anything for people affected with, some kind of disability or anything for that matter, right? So we have to come forward. I cannot expect some leader to come and change my life, right? So yeah, the onus is on me.
And it's not just that the onus is on you, Swarna. I think the onus is all of us as well. I think, we all need to support each other. These are causes which are, lifetime missions. I know there is so much to do, but, I think you deserve our kudos at this point of time, but still wish you luck for everything that you want.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I know we have a lot of questions, but I need to, top this whole discussion up with one question on leadership, because it's also in terms of how leadership is different. I've at least been on both sides, in the corporate as well as the social side, and I feel that leadership on the social sector side is far more complex. There's this whole value attached to creating an impact. So just some final comments from each one of you on what you think defines women leadership in the social sector. Pooja, you'd like to go first?
Yeah, so like you said, women leaders in corporate world is completely different from the social sector based on the little experience that I have. But I also feel the freedom level is far better in social sector than in corporate. Right. And probably that's the reason we kind of find a lot of women in, stepping into social sectors. I think one main important factor is set your goals right, and be strong towards it. I mean, to do whatever it takes to follow your goal or vision that you have. I think that would be the best way to take forward the women leadership. And I really hope that we should, like she said, the women CEO, the term women CEO, the leadership is the same way. Like I personally feel women are capable to take more risks than men. We can multitask better. So in all ways, I think we are capable to do better. So it's just important for us to not just get deviated with our line of work, because at times we just get the fear of just proving ourselves that we're able to do certain things, and there are possibility for us to get deviated. So I think you just need to stay focused on what you're doing, and rest will fall into places. So that's something I believe in the way I take this forward.
Right. Nisha, to you, I'd like to just weave in a little issue relating to work-life balance along with the leadership question, because especially if you're married and you're pursuing a cause like this, which is like a 24/7 kind of a environment that you're working in, how do you balance the two? And how does leadership still work for you?
Sure. I think just 3 quick thoughts on leadership, and I'll talk a little bit about work-life balance. Or maybe I'll start with work-life balance. One, I don't think it exists at all. I just think work is life, life is work. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know if I have a 3-year-old daughter, and we have a 3-year-old dog. I'm sure my dog will never complain, but I wonder if my daughter will grow up and complain. But I think there is so much interaction between the two, and I like to keep it that way. And then maybe just building off that, I really just 3 sort of big thoughts about leadership. I think one, leadership is homegrown. I blame the corporate world a little bit for making leadership like a very special, or like you need to go through a leadership training, or even schools I think these days are doing leadership training. But I think with our women we work with, we constantly say, okay, when you only have this money, what do you do? And that's prioritization. What do you do about that's decision making, and all of that is leadership. I think and I've seen that confidence grow, because this ma'am is not coming and suddenly asking me to develop something. She's actually showing me I have some capabilities. So I think just that one thing. I think just building off what Kirthi said about nurturing, right? I get so much of that, particularly because my husband and I are doing the same work. And when I'm firm with my stakeholders, it's very easy for them to say, ma'am, despite being a woman, you're like this. I get so much of that. Like, despite being I expected a woman to be kind. I expected a woman to be nurturing. You're a mother, you're still talking to me like this. And but while that happens, I've also had so many people come around and say, I'm so glad you held me to this expectation. I'm so glad you showed me that I can turn up to work. And I think the power of a role model, I really think more than sessions I've done with my women or any of these things, just the fact that I show up to work despite having a daughter, despite, say, my daughter being sick. I think those are examples where I think our ladies feel like, oh, it's possible. It's really, I think my husband has pushed my ladies to say, the husbands also have to take care of the child. Because so initially I would keep getting asked, ma'am, but who's taking care of your daughter? Like, my husband is taking care of my daughter. He is a parent as well, right? And today they're able to have that conversation to say, if sir can do it, you can also do it. It's just a couple of hours. And I think just the power of role models is important. And that's where I really think, like, more than any of the sessions or great videos we've shown, them being able to see that gender plays out in this way in our real life as well. The gender split is real. The gender split happens. Even if you're going to troll me for saying, despite being a woman, you're like this. You're so firm. I've never seen such a decisive woman. I've never seen a woman, and particularly in rural where there is a need for a woman to be submissive. It's also very cute sometimes in some ways that our women take a lot of pride that they drive a car. They're like, enga ma'am car otuvaanga. And that for them is really big. And in some of the dreams they've written, I want to be able to drive a car like you someday. And then I think that actually more than formal things we do with them, just the ways in which we are. And I keep telling them I'm being normal. I'm not on the other side of a feminist kind of a thing, right? I'm just being a human being. You are allowed to be that human being. And just like closing comments about leadership, I think I always think of this example where one of a woman was wearing a 3/4 sleeve blouse. And I commented that it looks really smart. And she's like, ma'am, but I had to fight to stitch this for myself. It's not even a sleeveless. I'm willing to cover myself even further. And even for that, I have to fight. But today, I think I've demonstrated leadership in wearing what I want to wear. And I think that for us is a lot of success to say leadership is not just at work. It is at home. It is when you're able to put your feet down and make things happen. And it's homegrown. I really think it's what people pick up from their life every day. Yeah. I hope it answers both your questions. Yeah.
Yes, I think that justified both those concerns. Thank you very much for being a part of